Hey guys, today I'm going to give you 5 tips to help you draw trees. Tip number 1 is the internal structure, which is the trunk and the branches. You don't want to make these too straight or repetitive. You really want to capture the randomness of nature. In order to do this, you want to be free with your branches. So I recommend not holding the pencil by the tip. I usually hold it midways. Your goal is to control the pencil less in order to create the natural branches. Right here I let go of the pencil a little bit and make the tree trunk curvier. However, I still have control over the pencil and I know what I'm gonna do next. I'm also paying attention of where I place the branches. I don't want to leave huge gaps in between the branches because that would make the tree look weird and lose balance. I also want to spread out the branches evenly because too many branches on one side will make the tree lose balance as well. Moving on with tip number 2, it deals with the overlap of form, which helps the tree look three-dimensional. To do this, we're going to use the T method, which is the point where two forms overlap. You want to emphasize the T, and this shows what is closer and what is farther away. For example, this is our first T, and as you can see, it looks like a T, and it shows that the branch is above the trunk, or that is closer to us. You can also use this method to show that a branch is behind the trunk. Emphasizing these points will help the tree lose its flatness, and it's important to do these with all the branches. Good, I think the tree is coming out pretty well. You can even add extra branches as I am here. I'm just gonna have to erase that little part. Okay, to better explain this method, I'm gonna draw two flat shapes that resemble pears, and they are pears, but I'm gonna show you how to make them three-dimensional. By emphasizing the T's, I'm gonna make the back of this pear closer to us than the front of the pear. As you can see, the flat shape that was a pear has 3 dimensions now. I'm gonna do the same thing with this pear. I'm gonna make the front of the pear look closer to us. Good, now I'm just gonna add some of the shading and it makes it look better. I hope you understand the method, that this is the closer side and that's the farther side. And you can do this by emphasizing the overlap of form. Now, tip number 3 deals with light source and value. After drawing this tree, I will show you where the light source is, which is the top right. Since my light source is at the top right, I'm going to start shading the bottom and the left side of the tree to show the shadows, and I will leave the right and the top side of the tree light to show that that's where the sun is hitting it. As you can see, one of my branches is casting a shadow across the trunk. This helps the tree become a little bit more three-dimensional. When it comes to shadows and value, there is a lot of detail. I also don't want to leave sections of the tree completely white or completely dark. I want to leave it at a middle tone, and that's what I'm doing here. Now I will show how the shadows are cast on a tree with leaves. First of all, the leaves blur out some of the branches and overlap them. The light source is right above, so I'm doing the shadows on the bottom of the leaves. Also, the branches are almost always going to look darker than the leaves. I outlined some of the leaves to give it more style, and also I do the cast shadow on the bottom of the tree and I add a bush just to give it an environment. For tip number 4, we're going to focus on texture, and this is mostly up to your skill level. I do a lot of lines on my tree to show that the tree has like a sort of natural form, and you could practice different textures. There's not only just lines, and as you can see, I add a hole on the tree, and this is part of texture, and this is just one you would have to practice a lot. Tip number 5, and finally, go out to nature and try to draw the trees outside. Try to get a small sketchbook like this one. I took this one when I went on a trip to Europe, and as you can see, I drew random trees, I drew close-up of trees. Drawing trees from the natural environment will help you out a lot. I tried different textures, as you can see in this one, and also weird ones. I also drew trees with thin branches, and really any kind of tree that came, close-up of the branches. Sketchbook is filled more than just trees, as you can see. And finally, this last tree, I actually drew this one out of my imagination. After you draw a lot of trees, you actually could draw them out of your imagination. Finally, this tree I will draw pointing out the 5 tips. So first, as you can see, I'm trying to make natural curvy branches that resemble nature. This tree is coming out from my imagination, and I want to not leave any gaps. I want to keep it completely balanced. I will spread out the smaller, thinner branches, and I will add this larger branch coming out of the tree trunk to show its form in space. Now I will actually start doing the emphasis on form in space, which are the T's I talked about in tip number 2. And as you can see, I have them emphasized now. Now the shadows come, and I will do the top right, and as you can see, I'm doing all the shadows on the left side, and I will do some cast shadows on the branches that are sticking out now. Also, I never really stop drawing branches. I keep doing thinner ones, and this really just helps me emphasize different parts of the tree, helps me keep the tree balanced, as you can see. Now I'm going to continue with texture, and I'm going to use the line method again. I'm going to create a bunch of lines to give the tree texture so it can look more natural and give it a rough surface. Finally, the shadow, and I believe this is one of my longest videos, so thank you for sticking through it. I really hope you learned something from these tips, and if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos.